because the financial services industry is growing in China and it's not stopping. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for actuaries in the core industry.
Thank you for Kartina to accept our interview today. My first question would be, because I'm very curious that why IFoA Asia Conference 2024 choose to locate in Guangzhou this year, and what is your first impression of the Greater Bay Area?
So first of all, thank you so much for having me, and I'm really excited to be here, and it's such an honor to be here. The reason why we're here is because we recognize that Guangzhou is part of a growing economic and business growth, and we want to be where the action is. This is not our first time in China to build a conference, and that's a recognition that as a country, we have so much potential from an actuarial profession to be here to support society. So that's why we're here. In terms of my impression, Guangzhou is brilliant. I mentioned before, it's lovely weather, and I had the best food. So I'm loving it here, and the city is amazing.
So nice to hear that you love Guangzhou. The public may be not very familiar with the actuarial professions. So could you introduce a little bit about what actuaries normally manage?
Absolutely. So actuaries make sense of complexity and uncertainty. And we use mathematical models, statistical models, and financial models to connect the different drivers of financial services, especially insurance, but broader industry as well. So we make sense of uncertainty so we can look to the future and look around scenarios on what can happen. Mm-hmm. So that's very useful for companies, for governments, for regulators, for stakeholders to estimate what can happen in the future. So actuaries are good at that. Basically, we are part of, so we do risk management and we do projection.
Okay. Globally, the actuarial industry is facing a series of opportunities and challenges from AI to the global economic environment. Mm-hmm. So in your opinion, how is the actuarial landscape changing nowadays?
So there's a few things that are impacting us. You mentioned AI. Certainly something that we are very focused on, and we are looking at it as an opportunity because it's quite interconnected with the core work that we do around modeling, mathematical modeling and statistical modeling. So we can talk a bit more about AI a bit later, but that's certainly a trend that we are focused on. The other thing I would say is around climate. So climate risk and climate uncertainty is a big thing that we are finding our actuaries getting involved in it. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is around uncertainty and the long-term nature of the issue. Mm-hmm. And that fits very much into the work, the core work that we do. So we look at physical risks, so impact, natural impact on Earth. We look at transition risks. So what's the impact from going from to low carbon economy on investments? And then we look at litigation risks as well, which is a bit of a liability risk. So what is the impact on firms in legal issues on their climate exposure? So we do quite a lot of that. The other thing I would say is, from a core perspective, we look at pensions and investments and insurance. And we have observed that because of the uncertainty in economic environment, there's an impact on social care and how people save for retirement and savings in their lives. So that's another thing that we are part of the discussion around how we support society, how we support government in terms of making sure that people are protected.
Since you just talked about the retirement and pension, so As we know that China now is undergoing the retirement programs and pension schemes reforms, such as the introduction of the private individual pensions. And also we know that the aging population challenge is not only China, but across the globe. So in your opinion, how would the actuaries participate in such pension challenges, not limited to the Chinese market?
Yeah, absolutely. This is such a core thing for us. So we've been doing pensions for hundreds of years. Because of the long tail liability and because of our understanding on demographics and mortality, we are best placed to support that. You mentioned aging population. It is an issue around savings and pensions. You mentioned moving from defined benefit to defined contribution, where individuals take the risks of the investments, and that is a change as well. And we have seen that in elsewhere. So in UK, for example, the move from defined benefit to defined contribution. Certainly, there's a lot of actuaries can do around management of assets and the liabilities as well. So we do quite a lot around that. We support government around that. We also have noticed, certainly in the UK, but elsewhere as well, something called the protection gap, where what people save is not enough for the aging population, the length of life expectancy, and the quality of life expectancy as well. So that's something that we need to kind of work on with society around financial education, and how we support people to make sure that that gap is smaller than it currently is.
Okay, so in China, as we know, the insurance industry is currently the biggest employer of the actuaries, and the market continues to grow. The conference committee president, Zhong Du, talked about how she witnessed the rapid growth of China's insurance industry, which impressed me a lot. So from your own perspective, how do you evaluate the development of China's insurance industry over the past decade?
I mean, she's absolutely right. There's phenomenal growth of actuaries in the China community, and it is a reflection of the value that stakeholders, so regulators, companies, are seeing from our actuaries. So actually, it's a testament of the Chinese actuaries showing that value to their stakeholders. And I hope that will still continue to grow. And I know that it will continue to grow because the financial services industry is growing in China, and it's not stopping just yet, especially the insurance one as well. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for actuaries in the core industry, but I also think that actuaries have transferable skills, and that skill can go beyond the financial services. And with that comment, I also think that actuaries can, the number of actuaries can grow even bigger than outside of financial services.
So extended from that, you have said that actuaries can develop beyond the financial sectors. And what are some new opportunities for actuarial systems and actuaries in China?
So I mentioned climate risks as something that actuaries are getting into, and doing quite a lot of that. So definitely, certainly at the moment, it's in financial services, but it can go beyond that as well. The other thing is, our understanding on mortality, morbidity, that can go into working with the government around population and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for actuaries, and the fact that actuaries fit so well in the AI world, and there's a lot of opportunities for actuaries in the AI world. I think there's a lot of opportunity in digitization and technological companies as well.
Yeah. Talking from AI, we've noticed that one of the emerging risks that is being talking a lot about in the insurance sector is cyber risk. So how would you say about the impact of it on the insurance industry?
Yeah, cyber risk is certainly not new, but it has risen in profile with the advent of, with the profile of AI. So I would see cyber risk as a couple of things. One is on the cyber risk as a whole for any organization, and then and that reflects kind of the cybersecurity and things like that. The other thing is cyber insurance. Okay, so insurance to protect people from the attack of cyber, and some companies will take out those insurance. The unique thing about cyber risk is that it's dynamic, so it changes all the time. And when you have a mathematical model that uses past data predominantly, that's quite difficult. So because when cyber risk happens, we might have a mitigant to it, and then it will change in characteristics. So past data might not be appropriate for future. So that means it requires actuaries and those in cyber risk to have a dynamic approach to assess the risk. So I think there's opportunity. Again, I mentioned that we're good in terms of modeling, and we're good at connecting different factors together, especially around the interdependency of risk. And I think that's opportunity for actuaries to be a bit more involved in cyber risk as well.
Okay, so you've just mentioned about the climate change and sustainability, and I've noticed that IFoA pay more attention to these sectors in recent years. So for me, who is not very professional in the insurance and the actuaries, it's very hard for me to connect the climate change with the insurance and actuaries. So could you elaborate on that for more details?
Yeah, there's a few aspects of climate risks that actuaries typically get involved in now. One is the physical risk aspect, so natural catastrophe, and modeling how if a property is going to be impacted by natural catastrophe, for example. And climate obviously impacts, the frequency of natural catastrophe and even the severity, so the impact, the size of how bad it can be. So that's one aspect of climate that actuaries get involved in. The second one is transition risk. And this is typically around investment, where we look at companies and how they react to reducing their carbon exposure. Because actuaries get involved in investment strategies, they will have a view on which companies are reacting better to transition risk than others. And that view is good for assessing the risk for the company. And then the final thing is litigation risk, which is another type of risk where companies are in litigation where climate risk is part of. And actuaries can involve in that in terms of understanding again how bad it can be. So because there's not much past data for it, so actuaries can again connect the link from one factor to another.
Okay, so I know that you are also very passionate about education. Yeah, I talked to a PhD student in the insurance majors yesterday, and she told me that there are more sectors or like data science in the test of IFoA right now. Yeah. So what skills or qualities do you think that will be more important for the next generation's actuaries?
Okay, that is my passion, and my theme is actually, so my theme for my presidential year is a sustainable future for the next generation of actuaries. And what that means is that I want to have a look, or I want us to have a vision of how we can support the next generation with what skill sets they need. So, are we teaching them the right skill set to be relevant to flourish in the future? And that means looking at our educational strategy and things like that. The other thing I would say is that we need to equip our students, the young people, and even, current members with the growth mindset. And what that means is that I want people to go out there and take risks. And if it works out, it's great. But if it doesn't, then we get up and try something else. And that kind of cycle of mindset is really good for us to keep on learning, keep on being relevant, and keep on adding value to society, to companies, and to the people around us.
Okay, that's all for my questions.
Thank
you. Thank you very much for accepting our interview.